My name is Alex, and I've been a freelance journalist for most of my career. Over the years, I've covered a wide range of stories, from political scandals to human interest pieces. But nothing could have prepared me for the assignment I took in the fall of 2023, which led me to the small town of Elkhorn, Wisconsin, and into the heart of a chilling local legend, the Dogman of Bray Road. The Dogman, sometimes described as a half-man, half-dog creature, has been the subject of numerous sightings and reports in Elkhorn and the surrounding areas since the late 1980s. The creature is said to be around 7 feet tall, with a muscular build, canine features, and glowing eyes. Locals have shared stories of terrifying encounters, but concrete evidence has always been elusive. I first heard about the Dogman while researching cryptid sightings for a series of articles on unexplained phenomena. Intrigued by the consistent reports and the palpable fear in the witnesses' accounts, I decided to travel to Elkhorn to investigate further. I wanted to separate fact from fiction and, if possible, uncover the truth behind the legend. I arrived in Elkhorn on a crisp October afternoon. The town had an air of small-town charm, with its historic buildings and friendly residents. However, there was also an undercurrent of unease, especially when I mentioned my interest in the Dogman. Most people were reluctant to talk about it, either dismissing it as a myth or expressing genuine fear. My first lead came from a local farmer named Tom, who had reported several sightings of the creature near his property on Bray Road. Tom was a no-nonsense type of guy, and I could tell he was still shaken by his encounters. He agreed to meet me at a local diner to share his story. Over coffee and pie, Tom recounted his first encounter with the Dogman. It was late one night, and he was driving home along Bray Road when he saw a large, dark figure standing by the roadside. At first, he thought it was a deer, but as he got closer, he realized it was something far more sinister. The creature had the body of a man, but the head and limbs of a dog. Its eyes glowed in the darkness, and it emitted a low growl that sent chills down his spine. Tom sped away, but the memory of that night haunted him. He told me about other sightings: 2 farm animals found mutilated, strange tracks in the mud, and eerie howls that echoed through the night. Tom believed the Dogman was real, and that it was a threat to anyone who crossed its path. He urged me to be careful if I intended to investigate further. Determined to get to the bottom of the mystery, I decided to spend a few nights camping near Bray Road. Armed with a camera, a notebook, and a sense of adventure, I set up my tent in a secluded spot not far from Tom's farm. The first night was uneventful, save for the usual sounds of the forest rustling leaves, distant animal calls, and the occasional hoot of an owl. The second night, however, was different. I was sitting by the campfire reviewing my notes, when I heard a series of low growls coming from the woods. My heart raced as I grabbed my flashlight and scanned the darkness. At first, I saw nothing, but then, out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of movement. A large, shadowy figure darted between the trees, moving with an unnatural speed and grace. I raised my camera, hoping to capture a clear image, but the creature was too fast. It circled my campsite, staying just beyond the reach of the firelight. I could hear its heavy breathing and see the glint of its eyes in the darkness. Fear gripped me, but I forced myself to stay calm and focused. Suddenly, the Dogman emerged from the shadows, standing just a few yards away. It was even more terrifying up, colossal and muscular, with fur covering its body and a snarling, wolf-like face. Its eyes glowed with a malevolent intelligence, and it bared its sharp teeth in a menacing grin. I snapped several photos, my hands trembling, but the flash seemed to enrage the creature. It let out a deafening howl and lunged towards me. I stumbled backward, tripping over a log and falling to the ground. As the Dogman closed in, I braced myself for the worst, but at the last moment, it stopped, sniffing the air as if sensing something. Then, without warning, it turned and disappeared into the woods. I sat there, stunned and shaking, trying to process what had just happened. I knew I had come face to face with the Dogman, and I had the photos to prove it. But more than that, I had felt its presence, a dark, primal force that defied explanation. The next day, I returned to town and shared my experience with Tom and a few other locals. They were both amazed and horrified by my encounter, but they believed my story and the evidence I had gathered. The photos were grainy and indistinct, but they clearly showed a large, humanoid figure with canine features. My encounter with the Dogman left me with more questions than answers. What was this creature? Where did it come from? And why did it seem to haunt the area around Bray Road? Determined to find out more, I delved into local history and folklore, uncovering stories of similar sightings dating back to the early settlers. Some believed the Dogman was a supernatural being, a guardian of the forest that punished those who encroached on its territory. Others thought it might be a cryptid, a yet-to-be-discovered species that had managed to elude scientific scrutiny. I also reached out to other witnesses, collecting their stories and piecing together a pattern of sightings and encounters. Many of them described the same sense of being watched, the same glowing eyes and eerie howls. Some had even found claw marks on their property, evidence of the Dogman's territorial behavior. As I compiled my research, I realized that the Dogman was more than just a local legend. It was a phenomenon that had touched the lives of many people in the area. The fear and fascination it inspired were real, and the need for answers was palpable. In the months that followed, I continued my investigation, collaborating with cryptozoologists, folklore experts, and local historians. We shared our findings and theories, hoping to shed light on the mystery of the Dogman. While we didn't find definitive proof of its existence, we gathered enough evidence to suggest that something strange and unexplained was happening in the forests of Wisconsin. My experiences in Elkhorn changed me in profound ways. They reminded me of the power of the unknown and the importance of keeping an open mind. The Dogman of Bray Road remains an enigma, a creature that straddles the line between myth and reality. But its story continues to captivate and intrigue, a testament to the enduring allure of the mysterious and the unexplained. As a journalist, I've learned that the world is full of stories that defy easy explanation. Stories that challenge our understanding and push the boundaries of what we consider possible. The Dogman is one of those stories, a reminder that there are still mysteries out there waiting to be discovered. And so, my journey continues, driven by the same curiosity and wonder that led me to the Dogman. The quest for understanding is never-ending, and the discoveries are limitless. For there will always be new mysteries to unravel and new stories to tell. My name is Claire, and I'm an anthropologist specializing in folklore and legends. My research has taken me to many fascinating places, from remote villages in Africa to the bustling cities of Europe. In the spring of 2024, I found myself drawn to a small town in Wisconsin, intrigued by the numerous reports of a mysterious creature known as the Beast of Bray Road. The Beast of Bray Road is often described as a large, wolf-like creature, capable of walking on two legs. It has been the subject of numerous sightings in Elkhorn and the surrounding areas since the late 1930s. The creature is said to have glowing red eyes, sharp claws, and an imposing stature that strikes fear into those who encounter it. I first learned about the beast while attending a folklore conference. A fellow researcher, Dr. Emily Harris, mentioned the creature during her presentation on North American cryptids. Her talk piqued my interest, and I decided to visit Elkhorn to conduct my own investigation. I arrived in Elkhorn on a warm April afternoon. The town, with its quaint streets and friendly locals, seemed an unlikely setting for such a terrifying legend. However, as I began to talk to residents, I quickly realized that the Beast of Bray Road was more than just a campfire story. Many locals had experienced strange encounters or knew someone who had seen the creature. One of my first contacts was a woman named Linda, who had lived in Elkhorn her entire life. She agreed to meet me at a local coffee shop to share her story. As we sat sipping our drinks, Linda recounted a night she would never forget. It was late October, and Linda was driving home along Bray Road after visiting a friend. The moon was full, casting an eerie glow over the landscape. As she rounded a bend, she saw a large, dark figure crouch by the roadside, seemingly gnawing on something. At first, she thought it was a bear, but as she slowed down, she realized it was something far more sinister. The creature stood up on its hind legs, revealing a towering, muscular form covered in thick fur. Its eyes glowed a menacing red, and it bared its sharp teeth in a snarl. Linda froze in terror, unable to move or look away. The beast stared at her for a few moments before turning and disappearing into the woods. Linda's story sent chills down my spine. She described the encounter with such vivid detail that it was hard to dismiss it as mere imagination. Intrigued and a bit unnerved, I decided to explore Bray Road myself, hoping to gather more evidence and perhaps even catch a glimpse of the beast. That evening, I drove out to Bray Road, parking my car at a small pull-off near the area where Linda had seen the creature. The sun was setting, and the forest was bathed in a golden light. I set up my camera and audio equipment, prepared to document any unusual activity. As darkness fell, the forest came alive with the sounds of nocturnal creatures. I heard the hoot of an owl, the rustle of leaves, and the distant howl of a coyote. Despite the normalcy of these sounds, an undercurrent of tension filled the air, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Hours passed, and I began to feel the weight of fatigue. Just as I was about to pack up and call it a night, I heard a low growl coming from the woods. My heart raced as I scanned the darkness with my flashlight. At first, I saw nothing, but then, caught a glimpse of Mokele-Mbembe, a large, shadowy figure moving between the trees. I held my breath, my hand steady on the camera, hoping to capture the elusive creature. The beast emerged from the shadows, its eyes glowing a fierce red. It was just as Linda had described, muscular, and covered in thick fur. It moved with a predatory grace, its gaze fixed on me. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The beast and I locked eyes, and I felt a primal fear grip me. Then, with a sudden burst of speed, the creature disappeared into the forest, leaving me breathless and shaken. I returned to town the next day, eager to share my experience with Dr. Harris and other researchers. My footage, though grainy and indistinct, clearly showed a large, bipedal creature with glowing eyes. It was the closest anyone had come to capturing evidence of the beast of Bray Road. In the days that followed, I continued my investigation, interviewing more locals and exploring the history of the area. I learned that sightings of the beast dated back to the early settlers, who spoke of a wolf man that prowled the woods, preying on livestock and frightening anyone who ventured too close. I also uncovered old newspaper articles and historical records that mentioned strange occurrences in the region, disappearances, mysterious deaths, and sightings of a large, wolf-like creature. The more I learned, the more convinced I became that the beast of Bray Road was not just a myth, but a real, albeit elusive, entity. My research led me to a local historian named Jacob, who had spent years studying the folklore and legends of the area. Jacob invited me to his home, where he shared his extensive collection of documents, photographs, and artifacts related to the beast. Jacob believed that the beast of Bray Road was a cryptid, a creature that science had yet to discover. He theorized that the beast was a relic of a bygone era, a survivor of a species that had once roamed North America but had since become exceedingly rare. He also suggested that the beast's ability to evade capture and remain hidden was a testament to its intelligence and adaptability. As I delved deeper into the mystery, I began to piece together a picture of the beast's behavior and habitat. It seemed to favor areas with dense forest cover, abundant prey, and minimal human activity. The sightings often occurred during the full moon, leading some to speculate that the beast's behavior was influenced by lunar cycles. Determined to gather more evidence, I organized a series of night expeditions with the help of local volunteers. Armed with cameras, audio equipment, and night vision goggles, we patrolled the woods around Bray Road. hoping to capture definitive proof of the beast's existence. On one of these expeditions, we had a breakthrough. As we were setting up our equipment near a clearing, we heard a series of low growls and the sound of something moving through the underbrush. We held our breath, straining to see in the dim light. Suddenly, the beast appeared, emerging from the shadows with a fluid, almost airy grace. It was larger than I had imagined, its eyes glowing a fierce red. We watched in awe as it sniffed the air, its gaze scanning the area as if sensing our presence. For a moment, it seemed to consider us, then turned and disappeared into the forest. The footage we captured that night was our clearest yet. It showed the beast in startling detail, its powerful build and canine features unmistakable. We were elated, convinced that we had finally gathered enough evidence to prove the beast's existence. Our findings sparked a wave of interest and excitement, attracting attention from cryptozoologists, media outlets, and curious onlookers. The Beast of Bray Road became a subject of national fascination, and Elkhorn found itself in the spotlight. Despite the newfound attention, the beast remained elusive. Sightings continued, but the creature seemed to avoid direct contact, maintaining its mysterious aura. Some locals were thrilled by the attention, while others were wary, fearing that increased activity might provoke the beast or disrupt the delicate balance of their quiet town. As for me, my time in Elkhorn was both thrilling and humbling. I had come face to face with the creature that defied explanation, a living testament to the mysteries that still exist in our world. The Beast of Bray Road was a reminder that there are still many wonders to be discovered, and that the unknown can be both terrifying and awe-inspiring. I left Elkhorn with a deeper appreciation for the power of folklore and the enduring allure of the unexplained. The Beast of Bray Road continues to captivate and intrigue, a symbol of the mysteries that lie just beyond the edge of our understanding. And though I may never fully unravel its secrets, the journey to uncover them has been an adventure I will never forget. My name is Jake, and I've always been fascinated by the paranormal. Growing up in the Southwest, I heard many tales of strange creatures and ghostly apparitions. But none were more terrifying than the legend of the Skinwalker. A creature from Navajo folklore, the Skinwalker is said to be a witch capable of transforming into any animal they choose. Stories of these malevolent beings have been whispered among the Navajo people for centuries, but I never imagined I'd encounter one myself. In the summer of 2023, I decided to spend a few weeks exploring Navajo County in Arizona, hoping to learn more about the local legends and perhaps even catch a glimpse of something extraordinary. Armed with a camera, a notebook, and a sense of adventure, I set off on what I thought would be a thrilling, but ultimately safe, journey. I arrived in Navajo County on a hot, dusty afternoon. The landscape was stark and beautiful, with red rock formations and vast stretches of desert. I checked into a small motel in the town of Holbrook and began asking around about the Skinwalker legend. Most people were reluctant to talk, their faces clouding with fear at the mere mention of the word. It was clear that the legend held a powerful grip on the community. My first real lead came from a local rancher named Ben, who agreed to meet me at a diner on the outskirts of town. Over plates of greasy burgers and fries, Ben told me about the strange occurrences on his property. Livestock disappearing without a trace, eerie howls in the night, and sightings of a large, wolf-like creature that moved with an unnatural speed. Ben's story sent shivers down my spine, but it also intrigued me. He invited me to spend a few nights at his ranch, and I eagerly accepted. That evening, I drove out to Ben's place, a sprawling property nestled at the base of a mesa. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the desert. As I pulled up to the ranch house, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Ben greeted me with a firm handshake and a wary smile. He showed me to a small guest room and then took me on a tour of the property. As we walked through the dusty corrals and past the weathered barn, Ben shared more about his encounters with the Skinwalker. He believed it was a witch from a nearby reservation, seeking revenge for some ancient wrong. That night, I sat outside on the porch, scanning the darkness with my camera and listening for any unusual sounds. The air was still and silent, the stars twinkling overhead. I was about to call it a night when I heard a low, guttural growl coming from the direction of the barn. My heart raced as I grabbed my flashlight and hurried towards the sound. As I approached the barn, I saw a shadowy figure standing at the edge of the corral. It was large and hunched, its eyes glowing a sinister red. I raised my camera, snapping a few photos before the creature let out a blood-curdling scream and disappeared into the night. I stumbled back to the house, my hands trembling and my mind reeling. Ben was waiting for me on the porch, his face pale and drawn. "You saw it, didn't you?" he asked quietly. I nodded, unable to find my voice. Over the next few days, I experienced more strange occurrences. I heard eerie whispers in the wind, saw shadowy figures moving at the edge of my vision, and felt an overwhelming sense of dread. Ben and I set up cameras around the property, hoping to capture more evidence of the Skinwalker's presence. One night, as I was reviewing the footage, I saw something that made my blood run cold. There, on the screen, was the Skinwalker, its form shifting and changing. One moment it was a coyote, the next a large, menacing figure that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. The sight was both fascinating and horrifying, a glimpse into a world beyond my understanding. Determined to learn more, I reached out to a Navajo elder named Mary, who lived on a nearby reservation. Mary was reluctant to speak about the Skinwalker at first, but after some persuasion, she agreed to meet with me. She welcomed me into her home, a modest dwelling filled with traditional Navajo art and artifacts. Mary shared the history of the Skinwalkers, explaining that they were once powerful medicine men who had turned to dark magic. By performing a ritualistic dance and wearing the skins of animals, they gained the ability to transform into those creatures. Skinwalkers were feared and reviled, known for their malevolent deeds and their ability to curse and kill. Mary also warned me about the dangers of seeking out a Skinwalker. "They are not to be trifled with," she said, her voice solemn. "They can sense your intentions and will not hesitate to harm those who threaten them." Despite her warnings, I was more determined than ever to uncover the truth. I spent the next few nights on Ben's ranch, staying alert and vigilant. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I heard a series of eerie howls coming from the mesa. I grabbed my camera and flashlight and set off towards the sound, my heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. As I climbed the rocky slope, I saw a figure standing at the edge of the mesa. It was the Skinwalker, its eyes glowing in the darkness. I raised my camera, but before I could take a photo, the creature let out a deafening roar and lunged at me. I stumbled back, losing my footing and tumbling down the slope. When I regained consciousness, I was lying at the base of the mesa, my body bruised and aching. The Skinwalker was gone, but its presence lingered in the air. I made my way back to the ranch, my mind racing with questions and doubts. The next morning, I reviewed the footage from my camera. Most of it was blurry and indistinct, but there was one frame that captured the Skinwalker in all its terrifying glory. Its form was twisted and grotesque, a blend of human and animal features that defied explanation. The photo was chilling evidence of the creature's existence, but it also raised more questions than answers. My encounter with the Skinwalker left me shaken and humbled. I had sought to uncover the truth, but instead, I found myself drawn into a world of dark magic and ancient curses. The Skinwalker was more than just a legend, it was a living, breathing entity that defied understanding. I left Navajo County with a sense of awe and respect for the mysteries of the world. The Skinwalker remains one of the most terrifying and fascinating creatures I have ever encountered, a reminder that there are forces beyond our comprehension. As I continue my journey into the unknown, I carry with me the lessons I learned in the desert: importance of humility, the power of the unseen, and the enduring allure of the unexplained.